Today, we're going to try to put these SUs back together off the MG. I'm a little concerned about them. They're old. These were supposedly rebuilt years and years and years ago. My big concerns on these, the one, I don't have to take a look, find out which, I think it's the other one, has an ear broken off for the air filter, but that's not a big deal. The thing that does bother me about both of these carbs, I don't know if you can see it, but there's quite a bit of play in the throttle shafts. A very common problem. But I don't really want to spend $400 for a tool to ream these out, considering I don't do much of this. So we'll just have to see how this works out. Yeah, they're pretty bad. Almost looks like they have bushings in there. I don't know. But that being said, a couple of things we have to do before we actually put it back together. First thing I did on this one was check I had the bell on the top, dropped the rod in here, and we checked the alignment. We got the jet aligned. When I put it all back together, everything drops in nice and smooth. We'll show you them in a little bit. Kind of like to leave that for last. The jet setting, what I usually start with is about 65 thousandths of an inch down, and believe it or not, 60 to 65 seems to work really well. So I think that's what we're going to leave it at. It certainly helps if I show it with the jet in, but there's a new jet. And like I said, I just set it, so it's at 65. That should work out pretty good. So I guess we'll got nice new gasket sets and all that good stuff. And I don't know, we'll put her back together, I guess, and see what we end up with. That's a little tight. There we go. I guess the only difference in those gaskets is where it ends up putting the pitch on the float bowl. Now, I will have to, I don't remember the setting on the floats. I'll have to check that. But I'm thinking this is correct. And let me get the rest of the parts for this carburetor, and then we'll put her back together. Okay, drop in a new needle valve here. Seat anyway. Thing is, I kind of found it funny, they don't give you a new gasket for the seat. I realize it's probably not necessary, but I just feel better having one in there, so I'm actually using the old ones over. And I did order some new pins for this because the ones that were in there were pretty well stuck. Got the new jet in, tightened down, and float bowls on, O-rings on both sides. Everything is, at least that far, is doing what it's supposed to do. So, I guess we can, I'm using the old floats over, they seem okay. And it goes. new needle valve. And somewhere down in here, we have a couple new pins for the floats. I know on the TD, the drop is 7/16 for the float adjustment. I will have to look this one up. So I will push that in just a little bit. Don't get carried away. And we'll check that adjustment once I look it up. I'm pretty sure that it's 5/16 on these older, smaller carbs. I have a 8mm drill bit, and it just fits nicely. So I'm going to leave it at that. I did check. I don't, and again, I didn't take it back out, but SU I don't think is requiring the use of gaskets on the bottom of their needle seats. Got a new gasket for the float bowl here. If I'm wrong on the adjustment, it's not a big deal to fix. As I said, my big concern with these is going to be the throttle shaft play. It's the only thing that's really got me concerned at this point. Still got the carburetor tags. As I said, there was a garage back in 1978 that supposedly rebuilt these carburetors when I did the engine, and it was kind of weird. And again, you know, who knows who did what to this since then. When I pulled them apart, one had a regular needle and seat, like you would find in most of these SU Carbs, and the other one had a gross jet. So that seemed a little unusual. Gross jets have mixed reviews. I think when they're new and clean and everything's working, they're great. But from what I understand, when they get a little gummy, then you got problems. You know, when the balls start to stick and stuff like that. So it looks like at this point, and I did not change the needle, even though I have new ones. Left them, they look okay, and everything looks good. So now, just so we see here, yeah. Okay. Not getting quite the drop I had before, that's for sure. I may have to recheck See? Now it's doing what it's supposed to do. See it? Can hear it. You pick that up. Everything's lined up correctly. I guess it would probably be good if I put a screw in there too, because everything's kind of moving around. Let's see what we get. Put the screws in. No oil, no spring. Yeah, it's not dropping quite as nice as I'd like it to. I mean, the spring inside would definitely push it down, but it should drop nice and smooth without the spring. You may have to pull the jet back out. Yeah, see? That's what you want, right there. Just drop right down. There's no spring in there yet. So I would say the jet is aligned properly. These things, when it comes to the bell and the piston here, they are so temperamental as far as making sure. That's why you say you don't want to mix these parts up. When I took that TD apart the first time, the carbs on that, they weren't real smooth. And I switched the bells, and all of a sudden everything worked good. So I'm thinking that somebody at one point had changed them, moved them around and got them mixed up. Everything worked out fine after that. But you gotta take this one, open this one back up. I know a lot of guys prefer, and again, in certain situations, it's probably not a bad idea, they prefer to do this with the, put these back on with just the throttle bodies until you get everything kind of in there. Yeah, this one's not that bad to do, so I'm gonna put it back together and then put it on, because my luck, I drop everything, so I'll be looking for parts on the floor and down in the frame. And one thing you never want to forget is to put oil in the dash pot here, like a 20 weight oil of some type. I've used different things depending on the situation, but now I've been using more and more of just the stock issue oil. It doesn't really matter. It's not that critical, but you don't want anything too light or too heavy. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lean condition, because this will open right up as soon as you hit the throttle. You see how nice that works? So all this linkage will have to go together. Speaking of dash pots, there's the dash pot. We'll stick it in there. So I would say that one's back together. So now we got to do kind of the same thing on the other one. I'll check it, but I did not even take the jet out of the other one because there's no gaskets or anything there. So I figured it was just easy to clean it with it in place. But this is the jet aligning tool right here. We'll check it, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. And we'll put the other carburetor back together and then stick them back on and see what happens. And here's the other carburetor. And as I said, I did not remove this jet here. I left it in when I cleaned it. There's no gaskets or anything on them. So with the new jet in, you can hear it and see it. Nice and smooth, just what you want to see. So I think we're good on that. And we'll go ahead and have to put this all back together, and then they'll be ready to go back on the car. Okay. Spacer's in. Gasket is in. O-ring, shim, all kinds of good stuff. Let's see if we can get this float bowl back on this one. That looks like it probably will work. Let me get the jet back in there. Now these jets got to go in the right carburetor because otherwise the linkage won't line up with it correctly. Again, it's not rocket science, but it's got to be right. So you can see there's a little bushing on here to allow this to move freely. I also find you don't want to over tighten this, otherwise it will bind even with the bushing. And of course, if you lose the bushing, you got a bigger problem. So I usually take it down snug and turn it back just a little bit. I think that's what they had set up for the throttle cable. I think I got a new one here. So, let's see. Now, I got to take that back off now. Of course, we'll make sure it's all the way up. Check the drop on it when I go to put it back on. So I guess next thing to do is put the needle and seat into the top of the float bowl. And as I said, I guess SU does not feel the need to have a gasket underneath these. So this one will not get a gasket. There's supposed to be Viton tips on those needle valves on these factory kits. Isn't that kind of bizarre? Huh. This new pin does not want to go in. Doesn't even want to start. I don't know if it's... it does look like a little something on the end there. Quality control. Well, let me go over and just clean up the edge of that just a little bit and see if that helps. That was all it took, was a little touch up on the end there. Must have been a little bit of a burr there. Just touch down the belt sander and now it goes in. Kind of kills you. You buy new parts to head off grief, and it still gets you grief. Okay. You say so? All right, let's see what we got here. This one looks a lot lower. Or in this case, it would be a lot higher. All that just from a gasket, maybe? I don't know. But that's not going to work. Yeah, that's right. This one had the gross jet in it. Right there. Which, as you can see, also has a pretty hefty gasket on it. And then it's taller than the originals. So that's probably why it's what it was. Okay, I can live with that, I think. 65. Okay. In place. I guess we'll put a spring back in there too. As I said, it's kind of a crapshoot to make sure they end up where they should. Like I said, if they're turn them around, they don't work as smooth. So it's not even a bad idea, I guess, to mark them. But you know, like I said, it's going to clean everything, so it doesn't leave you much in the way of marks left, unless you're going to scratch them in there or stamp them or something. And I don't think beating on these things is a good idea. And we definitely have a mix and match lengths of screws here. I could have just, but again, it's kind of silly, but could have just bought a full set of screws for it. This is the one that's got the broken ear for the air filter. That sounds good. That works good. That's all tight. So we throw the damper back in here for now, and these carbs are pretty much ready to go back on the engine. That'll be interesting. Like I said, they got some throttle shaft wear. There's no getting around that.